All right, so just a small group. We're just going to talk about a little bit what's going on now and what's going on today. So the guys in our massive garage here are just doing the final tweaks to the car to make it race ready. So we changed some stuff for qualifying. You can move in a little bit. Come on in. It's all good. Thank you. We changed some stuff from qualifying to the race because in qualifying we just need to have a car that's fast for a couple laps, and the race obviously we need the car to be faster throughout the whole thing, particularly as fast as it can be at the end. That's obviously when it can be super important. Okay. Yeah. Can you just basically describe like what you do at a course like this to make the car a good race car for the race?
You want like shock settings or what do you get?
Well, these guys it can be very, very engineering technical. Jay's the engineer on the car. He calls the shots on what Lucas is doing to the car. So just as a basic thing, what do you do for a race setup?
Well, because it's a street course and we're going slower than we're going to be going at Sebring and looking at our other tracks, we've got to make the car more agile. In other words, it's got to be able to turn more easily at low speed, especially through the last turn. So we put settings on the car that basically might be a little unstable at a high-speed track like Sebring or others, but are very maneuverable, agile as track, while still being safe enough. So it's really about trying to get the car through these low-speed corners with, it's almost like you're building an autocross. It's taking a road race car and turning it into an autocross. And autocrosses are where you run through cones in a parking lot, very tight. So that's really where we focus on the setup, softening the springs, softening the bars, making the car more turny, as we call it.
So again, engineer his whole life, right? He's driven cars. He's worked in F1. Obviously, this is a big upgrade from F1, so he's very happy that he landed here. Questions? Anything? Questions? Engineering related?
Is turny a scientific term?
It's more of a street language term. But that's why I use the word agile. And really, we try and make the car precise and also make it agile. Because if it's sloppy but agile, then it's very hard to tell.
Yeah.
But if the car is very precise, then you can make it agile, and the driver can use it as a tool to get to the corners with good confidence. So it's kind of a mixture. Safety, precision, agility, it all have to come together. But you're definitely turning all the dials towards agility at the track, whereas you might be a little more towards stability and other high.
And do you use like last year's settings to help?
Yep.
Okay.
Well, I think this is our 5th year here with this car. Second year with the Evo. So I can look back to the previous years and say, okay, I tried this, tried that, and what worked well, and how do I incorporate it into the second?
Yeah.
So it's a constant evolution, and going back into older BMWs that I've engineered here since 2009, I've got a lot of history from long gauge on what works long.
Yeah, cool.
But for example, the right front tire really doesn't do that much of it. It's only got a couple of turns where it's loaded. So it's going to run the right front pressure a little bit higher because it's not going to warm up. Little nuances like that.
Nice. Yep. Like, compared to last year, what else do you find to get an extra step another year over?
Well, this year, Michelin modified the tire. It's an 8.1 Plus. They actually made it about 10% softer vertically.
Got it. Okay.
So it's a little bit softer spring, so you got to react to that. Fortunately, we did a bunch of testing with the new tire on a suspension rig where you move the tires from up in the body, up and down, over, down, with downforce. It's the same kind of thing we would do in F1 on a rig between race here and F1. And we did that testing in November on the new tire. And so we've got shock settings and spring settings that are dialed into that. So we're really taking advantage of the new tire.
So speaking of tires, I have a question. So something's different this year than years past, and it has to do with the tires, at least the perception of what's different. Because in qualifying, everybody did their fastest laps on their last lap, basically.
Yep.
So it really, it's kind of different because normally there's a peak of a tire, and that's when everybody does their fast lap. But here, it seemed like it was getting faster and faster. And Patrick, you kind of experienced that, which is a little bit different than normal, where the tire has a peak and then that's when you do your lap. It was like towards the end of the session. What do you guys think would, like, Jay, from an engineering point, why would the tire do that?
Well,
And,
Michelin, I said they changed the tire, made it a little bit softer vertically. They also changed the thickness of the tread, thickness of the shoulder, and so the tire is heating up in a little bit different way than it was in the past. And because the tire is softer, there's less energy going into the tire as quickly, so it takes longer for it to peak and get to temperature on a track like this, which is relatively low energy. So there are some physical reasons related to what Michelin did that result in the performance we felt.
so knowing that from qualifying, right? Knowing that from qualifying, is the race start going to be similar? Is it going to just keep getting better and better on the?
Yeah, certainly. I think it's twofold. I think the tire is slower to come up than the old tire for all the technical reasons that Jay explained, but also this being a street circuit, especially one that ran drift cars last weekend, we're constantly running in our rubber, which is much stickier than the drift car. There's two very different objectives there. So I think as the tire takes longer to get up, the track also gets better every lap. So I think that the end of qualifying is obviously the best, both because the tire is taking a little longer to come up and the track is coming to us every lap. We've done this race a handful of times, and Robbie knows, like, at the end, the tires on the car are the oldest, but the track is the best. So it's just a unique situation than the normal racetracks we go to, where the peak's on lap 3 and you try and get everything out of the tire right in the beginning, and then it kind of degrades from there. You kind of have the tire degrading still after taking a while to come up, but then you have the track progressing also and getting better. So it's quite unique. The other point I wanted to make is, from Jay's perspective, it's a lot like an autocross track. From our perspective, it couldn't be further from the truth. We don't hit pylons. There's concrete everywhere, so it's. I'm glad to know that it's like an autocross for you.
You're not driving to me on it.
Yeah, no doubt.
I like that. I guess there is concrete everywhere, but we do see some runoff, Patrick. So there's runoff.
We don't use that part.
So we're going to give some disinformation. Don, can you talk about strategy while all the other teams are listening? Can you give some good disinformation? No, just Don Salama, strategist for the team. We've raced here again for a lot of years now, and I don't think we've ever looked back except for 1 year when we did the perfect strategy. And it's hard to always have the perfect strategy because every team wants the perfect strategy, right? But the strategy in this race is it's important. Because it could be an advantage, but it's not important because there's only one piece of strategy really to do, and everybody's trying to do the same thing, try to take advantage of it. So if everybody's doing the same thing, do you go the other way, do something different, or do you just follow it and hope it works out?
Yes. So let me give you a perspective here for a second and how you try to win a race here or anywhere else. We just came off 2 long races, a 24-hour race and a 12-hour race. A 24-hour race, we're stopping 30 times, right? And it becomes really critical with 3 hours to go, what you're doing, how you're setting the car up to sort of be in P1, 2, 3, etc., and not make mistakes. Here, it's a 100-minute race. If we run it right, we stop once. And frankly, everybody stops on the exact same lap because the amount of fuel you need to finish the race, you time it so that the last stop, you're going to use a full tank basically to run the rest of the race. So that's generally 35 minutes in. So when Will was talking about, does everybody do the exact same thing? If you're in P5, then you come up in P5, you go again. What we did a couple of years ago that everybody basically followed us is that little secrets. If you put new tires on a car, guess what? They're cold. They're not up to pressure the second you leave pit lane. And those tires per lap probably takes 2-3 laps to get in here. That means they're going to run 1 or 2-3 seconds a lap slower than a hot tire that you just came in on. So guess what we did? We didn't change tires 2 years ago, right? 2 years ago. And we basically undercut what's called undercut or passed a lot of cars because we're running 2 to 3 seconds a lap faster for 3 laps. Now you'd say, wouldn't the guy on new tires ultimately be faster than the guy on old tires? Well, there's relatively little tire deck here. And this is a follow the leader track. It is very difficult to pass in this street course. And there's generally 10 manufacturers here. And every single event, IMSA basically says they rebalance sort of power and weight and some other factors to make the cars as equal as possible on track. So actually the difference between Patrick's time and Paul was 0.2 of a second. Let's give perspective here. And that's P5. So these cars are really running nose to tail unless somebody makes a deep dive, crazy move, and which is risky here. It's probably going to hit a wall. You're going to damage your stuff. It's not a smart thing to do. So the way to pass cars is in pit lane by trying something different. I'm not going to give you the secret exactly what we're going to do, okay? But there is a good possibility we will not change tires again, or we're going to probably try some other little tricks to try to minimize the amount of time in pit lane, because that's your opportunity to pass everybody. It's actually fun. A one-stopper like this where you can try stuff that's fun. Any questions about that?
How'd you get into racetrack?
There were no other jobs I could do on the team. No, the truth is, Will and I used to race together way back in the day. We won a championship, and it got to a point where no one was really thinking a lot about race strategy. This 15 years ago, 20 years ago, and I sort of had an inkling for it. And it got to the point where I was actually calling race strategy for Will and I in the car, like the basics of it, right, without all the modeling stuff like that. And so I sort of evolved in it, and when they kicked me out of driving years after I should have, I jumped into this role. I love it. It's a lot of fun, actually. It's playing chess. It's, you went from quarterback to coach, right? And so you still have a big factor on how these drivers win a race, which I love doing. Nice. Thanks.
So change it up a little bit. So Robbie Foley, and he just got back from Germany, and I don't think his body knows which time zone he should be in because, again, it was Germany to Boston. He stayed the night in Boston, then to California. So maybe now he's in California time. But why'd you go to Germany, and what's your next 3 weeks look like?
Yeah, well, hey everyone, thanks for coming out. I was in Germany at the Nürburgring doing my permit certification, basically. So it's a unique situation this year. There's a very famous Formula One driver that they adapted the rules probably for him to make it a little easier to get the permit. So the last couple of years, I've always wanted to go over there. It's been a dream of mine to race there. If you guys haven't been there, I would highly recommend doing some laps there. I basically did my permit certification for the A permit, so I could drive sort of whatever car now. It was super cool. It's a track unlike anything else, and definitely different being 9 hours off that time zone. So still adapting, but all good. Looking forward to a good race today. And it's a busy time of the year for us. Going from Long Beach, we go straight to Circuit of the Americas for the GT World Challenge race next week, and then straight to Laguna. So it's a hectic 6-7 weeks straight of
There's
racing.
one more after Laguna. One more.
One more after Laguna, exactly. So I'm trying to live 1 week at a time, one track at a time. But it's good fun. And as these guys said, Long Beach is a great event, very unique. Trying to tune our car up a little bit for the race today. You have to be good over one lap and the distance because you end up running the tires potentially very long. So tricky to nail the setup here. But we've had a good car here the last couple of years, so hopefully another one today and a good result.
Cool. I guess just now, any questions for anybody, either the drivers or me or anything? Yeah.
Question on the engine. Is it an S58? And if it is, how close is it to like a street engine?
Yeah. So what we are told and what we believe is that it is basically a street engine taken out of an M4 with an oiling system upgrade. So we've never taken one apart, but it's very much stock. Obviously, there's aftermarket engine management on it, and there is no emissions systems. And but I guess the big thing is that we make just a little bit more power than a stock engine, right? That sits in your street car. Depending on the BOP. So we are allowed to turn the boost up or down to meet the certain BOP number or the certain number that the series gives us for horsepower. But in general, it's not much different than a street engine, and we don't stress it out as much as you can on a street engine either. So fortunately, that's great for, and it was like this for the M6 too. The engines, knocking on something here, the engines, we've never had an engine-related failure in all the races we've done. And I mean, obviously it's because liquid moly's in there for extra protection, but no, we've never had an engine related failure, and the engines can last all season, which is amazing to do a 12, a 24, a 6, and the rest of the season and a 10. So it's awesome. And after we finish up, if you want to go take a look at the front end, you can see before they put the bodywork on, you can go check it out.
Well, Mickey Molly, what weight are you using?
Well, that's a secret formula that we get from the street car. No, we just use the same oil that you use in your street car, in the race car, and it's again, we've picked the product, and the product picked us, and we've been having amazing results on it. And that gives us a little bit of everybody says their oil is a little bit of an edge, but ours definitely is. Cool. So we'll just hang out after this. I think we have some hero cards and it might be autograph time soon, but feel free to ask Lucas. Lucas, raise your paw. Lucas up there, feel free to ask Lucas any questions about the car. He can give you some technical stuff. And again, thanks for coming, everybody.